In this video, I'm going to be looking at a variety of LEGO pieces to find out which ones are the most dangerous. And by the end, we'll combine them all into one creation to make a massive danger mobile. Let's get started. Okay, so our first contender is this massive LEGO saw blade. It comes in over 25 different sets, and there's also this rare variant with blades that go in alternating directions, which honestly looks even scarier. One of my favorite uses for this piece is when you take some sort of handle with a tire at the end, then slide the saw blade on top of it so it rests on the tire. Now when you move it across the ground, it'll spin super fast and slice through anything. But if that's not cutting it, how about this massive drill bit? The craziest use I've seen for this piece is in this set that has two spinning drills that spin at the same time. But I'm pretty sure we can top that by modifying this to fit 2 more drills for a total of 4. Much better. The only thing holding this piece back is that the tip is rather dull, but you can always fix that by adding a cone and a smaller drill bit on top, and the bottom fits perfectly inside this large jagged wheel. Just be cautious because now you can probably impale somebody with this. Okay, now I realize some LEGO pieces might be dangerous from the perspective of LEGO minifigures, but what about parts that are dangerous to us humans? Just about every type of brick or plate has sharp edges and corners. I mean, just look at this one. And don't even get me started on broken pieces. Nah, but honestly, the only times you really have to watch out for these are in those rare cases where you're putting them together and they slip and jab your finger, and always remember to pick them up off the floor. Then again, you could always use that to your advantage.
This is next level home security, don't play with me.
LEGO makes their own rubber bands in different sizes which can be dangerous on their own, but they can also power dangerous contraptions like this mousetrap, a working catapult, and this triple shot rubber band gun. Which reminds me, LEGO is no stranger to making parts that shoot. In fact, they even give you a safety warning in the instructions so you don't shoot your eye out. This piece can launch any round tile, these parts can shoot out of minifig hands, and if you combine these pieces, they can shoot balls. But one of my favorites is this Technic launcher that has a trigger and shoots these large missiles with a rubber tip. They're actually pretty powerful, and you can connect 2 of them together for a double shot, or you could slide them on an axle and place one of these lift arms over all the triggers to launch even more. So here's 20 of them versus 50 minifigures. Literally none of them survived that. But over time, these launchers were slowly replaced by these spring-loaded shooters. These are a bit weaker and they're very easy to accidentally fire off. But one advantage is that they can attach to studs. And if you pair a bunch of them up with bricks that have studs on the side and attach them to a base plate, you can make this really cool chain reaction. But despite all this firepower, none of these shooters are as dangerous as this piece. It's a tiny LEGO magnet that's been used in over 100 different sets since the 80s. Now you really can't do much with these magnets themselves unless you clip them into these holders that allow for different part connections. Now you can incorporate them into your builds in all sorts of ways. I think they work especially well for making LEGO cranes, because all you have to do is lower it near the cargo and it'll connect all by itself. However, LEGO discontinued these magnets around 2009 with the fear of kids swallowing them. And when multiple magnets are swallowed, they can cause critical damage to your insides, like internal bleeding, blockages, and infections, which can be fatal. Nowadays, the only times LEGO uses magnets in their sets are for train couplings, and the magnets are built into the buffer. Now when you step outside, you always gotta be careful of elemental dangers, like fire. LEGO makes a variety of flame pieces in 3 different sizes, but when it comes to the medium-sized flame, LEGO used to make a version with small pins near the bottom that let you connect it to other flame pieces to make an even bigger fire. There's also this crazy looking fire blast piece, and it comes in different colors for other elemental dangers, like frost or lightning. Another thing you have to be aware of outdoors are dangerous animals, like venomous spiders, scorpions, and sharks. And I've got a bunch of other animals, so let's build the world's most dangerous swamp for them to all hang out in. Okay, this is looking pretty good so far. Let's also get some crocodiles and poisonous frogs in here, ultra venomous snakes, a killer wasp nest, some rodents carrying diseases, maybe a dinosaur or 2 for good measure. And I know this is technically a plant, but here's a mega Venus flytrap. Okay, yeah, I don't care how many episodes of National Geographic you've watched, there is no way anybody is surviving this swamp. Wait, what's that?
What are you doing in my my swamp!
Next, I went onto Instagram to ask you guys what LEGO pieces you thought were dangerous, and someone mentioned the knife piece. Not only is this piece really tiny, but it's also kind of pokey at the tip, and the same can be said about other minifigure swords and weapons. Wow, I never would have thought of this one, but that's so true. The piece for Batman's cowl is made of hard plastic and has really pokey ears, so if you ever lose your pocket knife, just keep a LEGO Batman on you. Anything from Bionicle. For those who are unfamiliar, Bionicle was a theme of large buildable action figures LEGO used to make, and I'd say the most dangerous thing about them would have to be their weapons, like massive swords and blades, axes, a spiky rock club, whatever these are. And this one's pretty cool because it has this large gap to fit those large elemental blast pieces from earlier. Appreciate everyone who made a suggestion. Now I know we already talked about LEGO parts that shoot, but I want to revisit that category to talk about these stud shooters. Their ammo is only limited to parts with a stud connection, so if the typical round studs aren't getting the job done, you can modify them to make them as dangerous as you want. And if you put two of them next to each other, you can launch a 1x2 brick, a 1x4, 1x6, and so on. But unfortunately, LEGO also replaced these pieces as well, and now the newer versions have you load the studs in sideways, meaning you can't customize the ammo. But hey, at least we still have the 6-barrel version. You need a few extra parts to get it working, but once operational, you can fire up to 6 studs before reloading. So here's 20 of them that are all geared up to this crank, ready to launch 120 studs at 50 minifigures. Somehow 3 of them managed to survive that. Now before we decide the most dangerous piece and combine them into a danger mobile, here's a speed round for a few random ones I didn't know where to put in the video. Like this prickly bush piece, different types of spikes and barbs, and this is technically 2 parts, but together they make a trap floor. So if you place some tiles on it and integrate it onto a raised floor with a sliding axle underneath it, you can make a minifig fall to the ground, or in a lava pit, a snake pit, or a spike pit. Hey, don't worry about that one, just walk it off, bro. In order to decide which piece is the most dangerous, I took the top picks from each category to help narrow it down. And after seeing them together in one spot, I think the most dangerous one might just be the LEGO magnets. I feel like the fact that these pieces could literally be lethal kinda says enough. Some honorable mentions would be the bricks and plates with sharp edges, and maybe this Technic launcher since it's so powerful. Yes, Mr. Grizzly Bear, you're very dangerous too. So now that that's settled, I'm challenging myself to use all these pieces in one build. So what exactly is a danger mobile, you just asked? Honestly, I don't really know myself, so I'm just gonna free build it until I'm happy with the result and have used up all the dangerous pieces. I started out by making the chassis and adding these drill wheels. I also built in some mechanisms so that some of the parts move as you drive it. Another feature I'm gonna add is this loading tray on the back with a rubber band to hold it in place, and now you can load it with bricks to dump on the floor for people to step on. Next, I spent some time filling out the front of the vehicle using lots of black and gray pieces. And in between the tires, I'm going to use those massive saw blades with that wheel trick I showed you earlier. And we can also add some of the dangerous animals throughout. And after finalizing the shape and color scheme, we can add the rest of the pieces, like the different types of spikes, and for shooters, we can add different ones to each side. Now some of these parts were a bit tricky to find a use for, especially the magnets, but if we add them to the back, they can make a dangerous electromagnetic field. And what if we combine all 3 colors of these pieces to make a triple elemental blaster at the front, and these other flame pieces make for good exhausts. As for the driver's seat, I want it to look more like a throne with swords and knives hanging off of it, and now we just need a driver. But not just anyone is worthy of driving the Danger Mobile. Especially not with that haircut. And since most of the minifigures from this video are now skeletons, or on their way to the emergency room, Batman just happens to be the only one available. Actually, wait. Much better.